All right, I'm back on again, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologize. My internet went down. Don't. This is the first time in ever that I've done live or done anything with my production, uploading things that my internet just died on me. So I had to go in there and power it on and off, and it took a while for it to reach to reset. So now I am back on here, making sure that everything is back on again. I hope. Let me go back one. And yeah, this is part of just the reality of live streaming, and doing anything having to do internet. It's not. It is stable and unstable, but when it's not working, it's not working. Like anything else out there, like a car, refrigerator. Well, some point in time, it just dies on you. And I'm sure you can hear my son in the background. He's singing his heart out right now. So if you hear a voice wailing in the background, that's my son doing what he does best. Let me see here. This is Facebook. Let's see. So far I'm back on YouTube. I'm back on Twitter. I'm checking on Facebook right now to make sure to see if I am back on there. Yes, I am. And how cool is Facebook with the caption? I'm like, I don't always trust the caption to recognize speech patterns, and sometimes it definitely struggles with the way I speak. But still, I think it's pretty cool that that's an option that is like available. Okay, that's not it. So I'm over here on LinkedIn trying to find this current setup here. So I got to start all over again, and I see it now. Click to join live. Turn off the audio. All right. So I'm back on again. So it's funny that I'm talking about social media, and I was talking about social media. So in this first the first 5 to 6 minutes of this episode of the Ivy League Hoodrats, this evening I'm flying solo, which is all good. I believe I'll be back next week with my brother Archie Tyson. But for right now, it's me. So what I was talking about before the internet went down was social media and why the point I was trying to get to is this. It is important that we all start to participate in on this platform. And the funny thing is we are all already doing so in some capacity. If you have a Facebook account or LinkedIn account, Instagram, if you've ever posted anything, then guess what? You are a contributor, you're a content creator. But what I'm talking about is getting more people to really add to the library of the internet. Share your opinion, voice your thoughts, teach something. One of the things I can tell you that I benefited greatly from doing this. And again, my YouTube channel has been up since, let's say 2000. Honestly, I want to say about 2017, or maybe a little bit earlier than that. Maybe it's 2016. I think that's 2016. I was playing around with it. I remember it was right around the time I had my weight loss surgery, and I think I wanted to track that experience. So I was recording videos. They're no longer. I think I must have archived them or deleted them from YouTube back then. But I still have them. I still have them on hard drives. So I started creating content there to share my journey. Why was I doing that? I was doing that because I got the courage to pursue the weight loss surgery. I'll be honest with you, I was definitely afraid of it. Any kind of surgery, I've been sick a couple of times in my life, and especially as a child where I was really, really sick. I had to be in a hospital, and that was like the worst experience. Then about 2012, 2012, I had this shoulder here repaired, and you would think you're just going in it to fix the shoulder. By the time I signed all those paperwork about you might die and everything else, I was like, yo, I don't know if I want to do this. But I had that surgery, and after that surgery, and then the healing process was insanely painful and hard. So I told myself, you know what, no more surgery. So to do the weight loss surgery, it was terrifying. So I wanted to document that. I wanted to one level share share with people what I was going through, in another level, get kind of sympathy, some kind of public sympathy, some kind of crowd sympathy from my experience. Then number 3 was, hey, just in case I don't make it, I want to put this out there so people can see, that Uche did live, and this is Uche's thoughts, and his, in his own way, the will and testament of a man who might die under a knife, having weight loss surgery. So that's really how I got into YouTube. Then from there, I started experimenting, because I never was able to figure out, like, what is it that I wanted to talk about. I'm a Gemini. As a Gemini, and people say Geminis are kind of like jack of all trades. We do a little bit of everything. Our attention span is very short, so we go hyper focus on one thing for a little while, then we go to something else. So my journey into social media was one of variance. If you go through my YouTube channel, you're gonna see content about everything, and I've tried my best to be focused on certain things. And yeah, there's a general theme. When I'm serious, there's a very specific theme, education and what's right in society and culture, and talking about those things that made me go, And the thing with that is, doing that, and I was doing this with like a cheapo camera, so most of the time my phone uploading, stuff like that. Doing that, was very empowering for me, because it allowed me to share my voice in spaces where generally I wouldn't have an audience, because again, when you're creating content and you're creating something, rarely do we create something for ourselves. We want someone else to see it, and the great thing about me creating content for YouTube at the time was that I could post it and somebody will see it. If it's only one person, somebody sat down and consumed it, and especially when you get that thumbs up and you're like, oh, wow, that meant not only did they watch it, they liked it, and they're informing that. And it's funny because that is very important. That has been very important in my journey of creating content. But going back to my original point, it's very important, I think, that we are all creating content, that we are all telling our stories. There's something very specific for me that has been very empowering for me with social media, and this is why I am making a concerted effort to create content and also start to like form a continuous thought that I can really build upon. Because again, when I'm doing this, it's because it's impacted me in some capacity that's profound. I'll give an example. I've learned more about my culture as an Igbo, as a Nigerian, from YouTube than I ever did from any human body standing in front of me. And not to say that no one ever sat with me. Many people sat with me. My parents, I went to school in Nigeria. I had classmates. I had uncles, aunties. But it's a finite number of people that I have access to. And after a while, the thoughts end up kind of being repetitive. So being able to go on YouTube, I think they said the second largest search library behind Google. And the funny thing, Google owns YouTube, and type in Igbo culture and see the hundreds of videos. Some of them are 5 minutes, some of them are 2 minutes, some of them are 2-3 hour lectures, and be able to sit down there and watch it. And then for me, I'm just like, wow, like this is incredible. I'm learning so much about who I am, my culture, But beyond that also, how many of you have ever been like, yo, I gotta fix something in the house. I gotta fix that toilet. And you go on YouTube and say, how do I fix a clogged drain? And there's 200-300 videos, and you pick 2 or 3, you watch it, and you're like, I think I can do that. And you do it, and it works. So the reason I say this is, the reason I'm saying this, I'm emphasizing this, is very important that you are not just a consumer of content, but you are also a creator and contributing to it, to the human library. This is the largest, this is the best opportunity, not largest, but the best opportunity, and actually the biggest opportunity we've had in the history of humanity, for everyone to be able to put their thumbprint on this big book called the internet. That's what it is, a giant catalog of data, of information, of stories. And for me, I think it's very important that we are constantly pointing into it. Um, and and some people might say, well, I mean, it's a distraction, it's a waste of time, it's hard, whatever the case may be, and it is not. It is not. I can tell you this: every platform I exist on, I have represented myself in a different form of media. LinkedIn, I've written more on LinkedIn than I've done anywhere else. Like literally, I've tried having a blog, and I know I've written more words on LinkedIn, and I'm getting the itch right now because I've been so consumed with creating videos from other platforms that I haven't written in a while. But LinkedIn is my place to write, to really express my thoughts. And it's amazing to me to have people who actually read it and comment back on a thought out of my brain that I wrote, that I typed up, which is very powerful because again, to those 18, I think 1,700 or 1,800 people that follow me on LinkedIn, my existence and what I put out there means something to those people in that space, that they continue to follow and respond and comment, right? I even have people who check in on me. I literally have people who check in on me and say, hey, it's been a while, and they send me a direct message. Hope everything's good. And I'm like, this is incredible, right? Then on Facebook, I do a hodgepodge of everything. You see my personality. You see the things that make me funny. And my reels are extremely varied. Anything that makes me laugh, anything that makes me think, to be able to take those bits of information and compress them and repackage them, and for me to express them in that space, it's there, And then at the same time, I get to see the comments and people thinking, people who are, I make a little post, people who are pushed to think a different way. My commentary about education or just my sharing what's funny to me, right? Then on Twitter, Twitter I haven't used as much. I use it so much more as a principal, but but the cool thing about Twitter when I was using it actively, that was a way for me to message immediately to the community that followed me in my school. So parents, the district, kids. Twitter was where I would post and everybody would see it, and I would see something would happen in the school. I would take a picture, put it on Twitter because I wanted everybody to know that my school, whether it was MSTA or John Jay School for Law, that there was life there. There was things happening, amazing things happening. So I would use Twitter all the time. Then YouTube is just kind of library. Pretty much all my content also lives in YouTube as a library. But then it's also the podcast lives there as well. So I create all these things on different platforms. It's a great expression of me. It's my legacy, if you really think about it. Barring the world coming to an end, at one point in time, my grandkids could go and type in and see in full living color, grandpa, great grandpa, right? Imagine right now being able to say, be able to watch, just like in the same quality, Marcus Garvey speaking. And I'm not saying I'm Marcus Garvey by any means. I'm just talking about people that I admire and I would have loved to have been able to see them speak and share content and the ideas in the various spaces in which they existed. How cool would that be? And not only that, listen, there are people out there who just on sharing themselves have become businesses, have become brands, So this space is a multifaceted space that you can exist in and do amazing things. The question is, you have to be willing to step into the role of creator, not just a consumer. I tell this to my kids all the time, that one thing with social media, my students, when I was a principal, as a teacher and all that, were mostly black and brown kids. And I started teaching during the era of the proliferation of the internet, when all of a sudden social media was everywhere, MySpace and all the different spaces were there, and AOL Messenger and all these different things. So the kids that I've had the honor to be teaching and led in through school from 2005 till now have all been part of the social media age. And I said over and over again, not stop, but cut down your consumption by 25% and give back 25% back in you creating your own content. And a lot of my kids have been like, but why? Why is that necessary? One second, guys. I got to take a quick sip. And they said, why has that been necessary? Why is that even necessary? Because in the world we're living right now, this is where people are going to make the biggest impact on society through social media. There are musicians who've been discovered because they were posting their songs and singing online. They didn't have to go audition. They didn't have to go, do gigs in a smoky bar. They just put their stuff out there. How many celebrities do you follow now that when you think about their lives started in this digital space? How many writers? How many thought leaders? Literally, the internet gave them the stage that they needed to really push forward ideas that have become mainstream now. It's funny. They talk about how Bitcoins and cryptocurrency would democratize the world and give power to the people, right? And I really believe it's the internet. The internet is what's giving people power to the people. But if you think about it, even cryptocurrency wouldn't exist without the internet. It literally needed the internet to come to life. It is the platform that's been building this digital world. And again, a lot of us are not active in it. What we choose to do is just consume. We will sit down for an hour or two, swiping left, swiping right, up and down, thumbs up, thumbs down, or just doing this, and trust me, those of you who do that and you like my content, I appreciate it, but I truly believe that that we need to become very tactical about how we use the internet, how we use social media, and not even how we use it. Well, we need to contribute to it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share with you an idea. This is an idea that's been rummaging through my head, and I've shared it here and there on different posts and even streams I've had in the past. And let me tell you what the idea is. I think I'm probably going to get canceled by the education system, right? But I'm going to share with you an idea. I thought, and I had a conversation with a brother of mine recently, Monday evening. It was a very powerful conversation, and if you're watching, you know who you are. I appreciate you because that conversation is still sticking in my head. We were talking about education in general, failing schools, failing communities. There are schools out there that are literally graduating damn near nobody, high schools. And for me, when you have 50% graduation rate, you're graduating damn near nobody. Because those who graduate, my question of those, if there's 1,000 kids, only 50% of them graduate on average a year. At that 50%, let's cut it in half. Because more than likely, half of that 50%, 25 of those kids, 250 of those kids are probably undereducated. They probably did enough. They did enough. Now, I'll probably say a good chunk of them probably just got pushed forward, and then a small number of them did enough to get by. Then of the other 25%, 250, now you have the spectrum of, those who got it to those who got enough. But those who got it tend to be like the top 10%. So if you're talking about top 10% of 1,000 kids, maybe 100 kids out of 1,000 actually made appropriate gains in their learning, right? So we have schools like this all through the country, all through our neighborhoods, through our community schools, where kids are just essentially leaving school, either getting kicked out, dropping out, or being graduated, and we know they don't have the full spectrum of skills. We know this, so we know this, and this is across the country. Show me any hood from Chicago to Compton to Liberty City to New Orleans to Atlanta. Any place that has a hood, I guarantee you there's failing schools there. And I guarantee these schools have been failing for a long time, and maybe once in a while they make a 10% bump or 5% bump, and everybody's touting success, right? But the reality is, the majority of kids are leaving undereducated. What's the evidence of this? This is the evidence. You have neighborhoods where kids have been going to school and beginning education, and these are poor communities, and these communities have not risen out of poverty, have not even made a dent. How is that possible? If you're saying education is the key, why do we have still high levels of poverty in our communities, in our neighborhoods? Okay, because education is the key. If people are graduating and they graduate with dummy degrees, not saying that they're dummies, but the degrees is dummy, it's a dummy degree, because the reality is the system knows that you didn't do enough to even be a viable, active, participatory citizen that's going to be taken seriously, because you literally got those passing grades. In New York City, passing 65. 65 and above is passing. And if you got that 65 average, you can graduate. If you have 65% of content knowledge, then you're ready to go into the world. Think about this. Do you want a doctor who's only who's only right 65% of the time? A lawyer who's only right 65% of the time? A contractor who's only right 65% of the time? Listen, I'm not throwing shit at anybody. You want to walk into a restaurant and they get your order right 65% of the time. But that's okay. In schools, right? We let kids move on and graduate with that 1 point above passing, and that's enough. Now, why does this make any how does it connect to the internet? I believe in our communities, Black and brown folk, in this country and around the world, if you have access to the internet, which we vastly do have access, whether it's through our phones or through Wi-Fi in our houses, through the public library, wherever the case is, there are entire cities, entire communities that have free internet, because that's how they set it up. There are apartment buildings where part of your utilities is free internet access, high speed for the whole entire building. Now, why, again, is this important? This is the math that I've done in my head. We have a lot of us who go to college, and we come into a world that is underemploying us. So we get the degrees in fields, and we come out to the real world and realize, man, there's no jobs out there, or they're not, or better yet, there are jobs, but I just can't get those jobs. So we have very educated people in our community, and again, having a college degree doesn't mean that's the proof of your intelligence or of your capability of doing great things. Good evening, Lee Wins. We have the people who have content knowledge. My question is, how can we utilize them to help with education in our communities? If the schools are not doing their jobs, are incapable, or don't have the tools, why aren't we creating spaces outside of the school building, whether it's our own schools or other spaces that promote, teaching and learning, so we can catch our kids up, so we can be successful in the schools. As the schools are not successful at teaching, then we can teach ourselves. And people have been like, well, that's expensive, and I don't know how we could, how people don't understand opening a school. Okay, check this out. Have you heard of Khan Academy? Khan Academy. If you are in any American school today, I'm sure, as a kid, you heard of Khan Academy. If you graduated from school in the past 10 years, you've heard of Khan Academy. People have been using Khan Academy in colleges, in high schools, elementary schools, all the way up down to kindergarten. And let me tell you what Khan Academy is. Khan Academy was created by, I'll show you, I have this book here. Salman Khan. This is his book right here. the one world schoolhouse. Salman Khan was working in hedge funds. You know, he was working in banking and hedge funds in Wall Street, right? And he had a niece and a nephew in New Orleans who was struggling in math. And he was good. He was good at math. You know, he was good at math. So what he started doing was he started, you know, doing math problems and recording himself doing the math problem, explaining how to solve the problem. And because to email the video the file would have been way too big. So what he did was he used YouTube. He used to open a YouTube account. He posted his video, and his niece and nephew in New Orleans can go on YouTube and open a video and watch the video. And the video he's creating was meant for them. If it was an algebraic equation, he will solve for X or whatever it may be, explain it thoroughly out, and then post it. So this was his communication with his niece and nephew, you know, on a daily basis, weekly basis, all around helping them with their schoolwork. You know, literally, you know, tutoring them, but using YouTube. And what he did is when he posted his videos, he posted them public. Not thinking anything of it, right? It's just me solving math problems. So he didn't set it as unlisted, but if you do it unlisted, nobody can find it. He did it as public, which would make sense because then his niece and nephew, they could probably type in Uncle Sal Khan or Khan, and it will pop up. But what he didn't realize what happened was, I'm sorry, my lips are a little dry. What he didn't realize what happened was other people would watch it. And people started watching it. People were watching it and using it in their classrooms, using it to help their own kids. And he didn't realize but he didn't realize that was happening until he noticed his follower. He got all these people following him. And do you know that act of him solving math problems on a piece of paper and posting it and recording his voice and then posting it on YouTube turned into a multi-million-dollar company, you know, and it's a not-for-profit. And you can go on, I'm telling you, go on it. Khan, which is KHAN Academy.org, I believe. And you can learn any content from kindergarten all the way up to early college courses on here for free. You know, it's literally a one world schoolhouse. You know, people talk about the one room schoolhouse. This is a one world, he is out there. You could set it up for your classes, for your classrooms, for your students. You can do it for yourself. And it's funny because this thing is out there. It's free. It's extremely powerful. You can give kids assessments on there, and it will tell you how they did and what they need to work on. You know, literally the tools to have your own school is right there on this website, right? My thing is this: why aren't we creating more online spaces for learning for our kids ourselves? Why aren't there more adults saying, you know what? I think kids need to learn Spanish, so I'm going to create a Facebook page where I teach Spanish, you know, and I go live and people can jump on there, and I do this for, you know, parents who could sign up, and you can sign up your high school kid or your middle school kid to learn German or Chinese or whatever the case is, you know, or for math. Listen, right now, I know for a fact, if you're a parent of a school-age kid, there's a 80% chance your kid is struggling in math. And they're asking you for help, and you're like, I don't even know how to help them. And it's not unique to your household. This is nationwide. You know, math skills are being assessed right now at the lowest scores in almost 30 years. But my question is, why aren't we, those of us who can, you know, literally independently saying, listen, I'm going to go ahead and do this for the culture, and start a Facebook page, a group, teaching math, teaching history, teaching whatever, you know, start a YouTube channel doing that. Or even better yet, create some flyers, go out in your neighborhood and say, listen, algebra tutoring or algebra classes starting on this date. You know, here's the QR code, you know, the thing you scan, it takes you to the website or the link they can type in there, you know, and then they can register. And Here, now you're teaching, or better yet, you're creating content that can help children or even help people in your community advance, right? These are things that we need to start thinking about, because one thing I can tell you is, we're going to keep suffering as a people if we're not willing to start thinking outside of the box. I'll be honest with you. Once in a while, I'm that guy. I'm bored. Or I have a little insomnia. I'm going through TikTok. I just swipe, and I'm sure a lot of you have done that too. How many of you have come across those people who are teaching math? And I know I'm obsessing with math right now, but this could apply to any subject. But there's people I see who are live on TikTok doing math problems, and as I scroll through them, I'll tell you this: I have never seen. And listen, I haven't gone through the billions of users on TikTok, but from what I've seen so far, I've not once seen a Black person or Latino, who's actually doing that. Like, hey, let me show you. Let's work out through this math problem. There are quite a few who are doing stuff around history and social sciences, but I would love to see more people really engage in creating content, that could be helpful to our young people. But that's not the only way for us to use social media. You can do many other things. But that's one of the ways that I keep asking myself, like, man, what would happen if we really said, listen, we're gonna start building online schools, Saturday schools, after school academies, and they're virtual. I wouldn't even know where to start with curriculum. Go online. There's curriculum online for free. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to, you can use Khan Academy. If you have a Gmail account, you set up your Endeavor on through Google and through Gmail, right? And then you utilize Google Docs through Gmail. I believe now in Google Docs. Let me check. Let me make sure I'm not over here telling lies. I believe on Google Docs now, you can actually, let me see here, google.com. I just want to make sure I'm not over here telling lies. Yeah. So I'll tell you this. If you ever jump onto, how should I do this? Actually, you know what? Let me actually show and talk. Okay, so I can do this right here. I'm connecting my iPad so I can share with you my iPad. And am I logged into anything? Confirm that's me. Let me I have to log in for you too. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you something real quick. So let me get my iPad on the screen. Okay, it's on, but now I got the beach ball of death spinning. Here we go. So I'm gonna add my, I don't want to do that. I want to do that. What's going on? My son would say, would be like, what's happening? Okay, I do not want myself that big on the screen. Here we go. So what I'm doing right now, I'm showing you, like on Google, right? If you have a Gmail account, a Google account, right? I believe, or you can actually, let me see here. Here we go. So these are all the apps that come with Google. You have your account, your Gmail, all these, your Drive. You can create documents. You can literally, like, you don't even need Microsoft. You can do everything that you want to do in Google, right? You could create documents. You could create spreadsheets. You could create PowerPoint presentation. You can operate your calendar. You can actually, you see the one that says Meet on the third in the third column, third row, Meet. That is Google's Zoom application pretty much. You can do video conferencing. During the pandemic, we use Google for our classrooms, and this is free for anyone who has a Gmail account, right? But the most powerful thing, what I was saying about, like, is this right here. See this one right here? That first column, the last application called Classroom. this is an amazing, amazing free tool here where, okay, it's asking me to figure out what class I want to come in with. I'm not going to do that right now. So let me go back to Safari. Okay. So the thing with that is that you're able to, in that space, literally create a classroom. You can put assignments on there. You can teach whatever you want to teach. How do I know this? Because in a pandemic, this is what we use. Every teacher in my school created classrooms in Google Classroom, and assignments were put in there. The gradebook was in there, everything. And this is a free tool that exists right now that anyone can access. And then the cool thing about that is Google Classroom talks to Khan Academy. So you can say, listen, I'm working with 20 kids, 10 kids in math, right? And I'm going to use Khan Academy as one of my platforms for curriculum, right? So you can literally set up your classroom in Google Classroom, or your kids sign up with their email accounts. You create assignments in there. You can actually use the full power of the internet. You could record yourself teaching a lesson. You could use a whiteboard on there. All these things that are so accessible now. And then you can use Khan Academy as the space where you do your assessments and use it to do the testing and identify what kids need additional help on. And you can work with kids one-on-one. You can have them use the Khan Academy platform. All of that, you can do that, and there is no licensing that you need. There is no certification that you need. You can do that as a private citizen for your children, in your community. And again, what do you do when you do these things? Especially if you're creating, you're posting your videos and the things you're teaching. You're creating content and you're adding to the greater library. I remember when I was at Columbia, I took a stats class, and that junk was just annoyingly just complicated for no reason. And how did I figure out how to what was standard deviation? That joint just was like, standard what? I was on YouTube. I literally went on YouTube and I was like, standard deviation, and I watched a bunch of videos by different people who explain the same thing, just a little bit different. And I found that middle ground where I was like, okay, now I get it, But that wouldn't exist if people weren't just contributing that knowledge to the greater body of what's on the internet. I really believe that right now, that in our community, we are missing out on an opportunity to fix our educational gap using the internet. Because again, we spend more time worrying about what Cardi B is doing versus, asking ourselves, how do we create a space within the community where we can make sure our kids have resources that make them more successful in their school building. And if it's a situation where the school is a lost cause, there are a lot of families out there for whom homeschooling is grounded by the content and the platform that's available on the internet to be able to facilitate teaching and learning of their children. I think there is a $1 million, if not $1 billion space for us to really start to create spaces using the internet to really educate our children, or at least to provide for our children as a whole within our communities. There's a lot of you out there who are smart. A lot of you out there who have the knowledge and have the ability, but haven't thought about, how to do it. Or if you think how to do it, you're thinking it has to be done in traditional building. I'm here to tell you that it can be done using this tool right here. Right here. And how do I know this? Again, during the pandemic for 18 months, this is how we lived. We were on computers just like this. I taught film. I taught financial literacy. And I did it literally from this seat. That wasn't the seat. The other seat I had, that one broke. But from this position, this mic, this camera, and I literally taught. I literally was like doing things like, just like earlier, I had my little circle on here, and I would teach, and I'll go through and the curriculum, whatever, and I'll talk to the kids, and I could see their multiple screens, and they engaged them. They did homework. All that was being done there. I remember doing it. And I was thinking to myself, wow, going into a school building and having a classroom and desks and all that stuff is not cheap. If you want to start a school or you want to do a learning pod, it's not cheap, but if it's sitting in front of a computer, something that is, at least here in America, is not as uncommon. It's people have computers. I had students of mine who would log in from their phone. Literally, the whole entire class, everything happened on their phone. I had kids who would, listen, they're better than me. They were typing papers and submitting it to me on their phone, from their phone. They literally, this was school. So somebody might say, oh my God, that is so that sucks, but a lot of the world, especially in Africa, this is school. This is the tool of this building wealth. It's just people on their phones, being able to take classes, watch videos, literally type papers, do your formatting on their phones and submitting it. And again, it's an opportunity here. But the problem is that we keep thinking that somebody else is going to do it for us. We need to do it for ourselves. We need to take advantage of the internet. We need to start thinking to ourselves, outside of I want to be real estate and all these other money making ventures that everybody is doing. I'm telling you, start creating content on the internet. Start creating content. Start talking about the things that you're really good at. Start sharing your recipes. And if you're one of those people who's brave enough, start a school. It doesn't have to be a Monday through Friday, 8 to 3 o'clock traditional school. It could be a Saturday school. It could be an after school academy. It could be in your community where you say Tuesdays and Thursdays between 4 and 6. I teach calculus for everybody. Just join me. Here's the link. Just jump in. If there's 100 people, awesome. And we're going to talk about calculus. Or we're going to teach financial literacy. Or we'll teach something. But this is why we need to harness the internet. We need to really harness it and figure out how do we best utilize it for the purpose of building something bigger. So everything from legacy and contributing to the human library that is the internet, but also it's an opportunity with the internet to really, address those gaps that exist. And for me, it's education. And I'm here talking about this is the things people should do. And trust me, I'm working on my own project. I'm working on my own space on how I can contribute. How I can probably build a virtual micro school that meets a couple of hours a week, and covers subject areas that might not be covered in traditional school. These are things that we can do if we're willing to put the time and effort into it. I hope this was valuable to someone out there, and I'm sure there's going to be somebody that listens to this at some point who's going to be like, "Wow, I'm motivated by this." And I hope, and that's my goal, to motivate you, to get you thinking about spaces that traditionally you wouldn't think about. This internet thing is powerful, but also requires that we really start to see it for what it really is. This is a library, and the winners in this library, in this space of the internet, are those who are creating content, those who are creating and contributing to the greater good, to the greater body of knowledge. And the great thing about that too, there's a alley, there's a lane, not alley, there's a lane there for those of us who are saying, I want to do more in my community. I want to do something to fix a problem. And for me, it is the level of failure in our schools. I want to connect with parents who are willing to say, help. Let's cooperate in helping our children. Let's cooperate, creating a space where our children can actually engage in and learn. Because again, I tell you, listen, I'm a 17-year veteran of a public school system. And then before that, I was a student in the public school system. And there are a lot of good schools out there, a lot of good teachers out there, a lot of good principals. But there's also a lot of gap, a lot of empty spaces, a lot of space where our kids are not learning anything, And I've committed my life as an educator when I was in the school building, and even now as as someone who's working in the private sector. I'm still working in education. I work for a company called Practice Benefit Corp, and what do? We provide tutoring, and we provide, academic support to schools. And that's something that's valuable. It's very important to me. That's a space that I want to continue to be part of, being a voice and speaking to how do we make our schools better. But one thing I do know too is that this is a space that's not just relegated to a few entities. Anyone can do this. Anyone can do this. You can in your building. You can say, listen. If you're in the projects, you can say, listen. We're going to start down in the gathering room. There's out. Most buildings have like a little social room. Or you might say, listen, in my apartment, as long as all the parents know, on Saturdays between 10 and noon, I need 10 kids who are going to come. I'm going to teach them Spanish. 10 kids are going to come. I'm going to teach them calculus. 10 kids are going to come. I'm going to teach them. We're going to work on reading. These are the things that we need to be doing, and the internet allows that to happen even easier, because if rather than having somebody come to your apartment, you can literally just do a Zoom call. You could do a Google Meet. You could Skype, for those of you who still Skype. There's so much you can do, a lot of spaces that you can create to be able to help, And again, I'm speaking to all of you out there who are highly educated and underemployed. Start a business. Start tutoring. Or join a tutoring company. Or if you truly want to be an entrepreneur, do it for yourself. Just do it for yourself. And I'm telling you right now, the one thing that's always going to be needed is somebody to help my child do better. I'm going to say it again. The one job that will always exist, the one need that will always exist in families is, I need somebody to help my child do better. And again, I'll tell you this, how do I know? I was one of those kids. My mom, I struggled early on in my education. My mom got me some tutors and was like, listen, you're not going to fail, not my son. And here I am. Back then, what was I, 9 or 10? If you had told me I would be an educator, I would in turn be that person educating, providing to other children what I needed back then. I've been like, that's not possible. But here I am. And not only that, I did it as far as being a school principal. So again, let's start to re-ask ourselves, how are we using this space? What is it that we're intending? Are we just consuming, or are we creating content? If we're creating content, is this content that we can use to leave a mark in the world? And those of you who are really thinking about, and speaking about the injustices of our school system, are you exploring how to use the internet as a viable tool to really help in remediating and educating our children as well? Okay, so I just want to share that with you this evening. Thank you so much for joining me, and I do apologize again for the duo not being here this evening. But either way, I'm always going to be here creating content, because I really believe in this space, and I hope that for the hour of talking that I do, there's at least 2 or 3 seconds of profound thought that makes someone really question and make decisions that can improve the world. So with that being said, do me a favor, if it's your first time here and you appreciate any of this content, and even if you're a follower, because most of the time when I look at my data report about the show, my stats, there's a lot of people who watch, but not a lot of people who subscribe or follow. So please do me a favor and be one of those people. And again, I appreciate you so much for this evening. And all of a sudden, everything is coming on. What's that about? All right. Thank you again. Have an amazing evening, and I'll see you guys next time. It's Friday, 10 p.m. For the next episode of the Sneaker Principal Podcast. And for those of you who join in specifically for the Ivy League Hoodrats, I will see you next week, Wednesday at 10 p.m. And with that being said, have a great evening, and I'll talk to you all soon, all right? Peace. Try and end this. Here we go.
And now he's been promoted. His job, principal.